Good morning, everyone. Welcome to church on this Memorial Day weekend. I don't know about you, but here in Cambridge, it is unseasonably chilly and a little rainy, although having lived in New England for quite a while, maybe this is a little normal for the end of May. I'm so happy that you've joined us today. My name is Jade Sylvan. I am the ministerial intern here at First Parish in Concord. And we also have a worship team here with us as well. Small, everyone else is on vacation, but the senior minister, Howard Dana, is here.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to church this morning, this Memorial Day weekend. So glad to be with you all.
Our director of music ministry, Beth Norton, is also here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here for worship, and I hope you're staying cozy.
And on our tech friend is Lily van der Zanden.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here.
Our call to worship on this Memorial Day weekend is an excerpt from the poem Sabishisa no Uta, written in May of 1945 by Japanese poet Mitsuharu Kaneko, translated by Hiroaki Sato. Finally, these guardian deities of the lonely spirit brought the war. You are not to blame. I, of course, am not to blame. Everything is the doing of loneliness. And now join Howard for lighting the chalices.
Each Sunday when we gather, we light a flame that signifies our faith. It is the flame of truth and of knowledge, of care and compassion, of justice and of peace. So I invite you to find a chalice or a candle or any light will do, in fact, and to light that where you are. Because in these 14 months that we have been apart, it has been the lighting of our chalices that has allowed us to really feel like we are worshiping as one congregation. So I light this chalice for me and for us and invite you to do the same. Please join in the words of our chalice lighting response. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred essential moment now. And now please join in our opening song, Abide with Me.
now I'm going to ask for all of the younger people to come up to your screen. And you know what? Everybody's welcome as well for the children's message. You don't need to be young. You can be old too. So I am looking at the internet and at the social medias and, you know, at the TikToks and the Instagrams, and I'm seeing a lot of people doing this in pictures. And I'm not sure if everybody knows what this symbol means or where it comes from. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this today. So originally, it looks like this symbol, making this little V with two fingers, was used in World War II to mean victory. So you see the V stands for victory. So it was like a triumphant end of battle thing that people would do when they won. But then about 20 years later, there was a peace movement in the United States. You might have heard of people called hippies. They appropriated this symbol, this hand symbol, and turned it into what was called the peace sign. So when they did this, they were asking for peace because there was a war during that time called the Vietnam War that a lot of people thought wasn't justified. So a lot of people think World War II, that was justified. Nazi is bad. Yes, true. But they thought Vietnam was not justified, and they were drafting a lot of young men, meaning they were bringing them into the army without their consent. And people were really mad about that. So they took this symbol and they said, no, this doesn't mean victory anymore. This means peace. And ever since then, usually people call this the peace sign. And now I see a lot of young people doing it all over the world. And I'm not sure if it means peace anymore. I think it just might mean fun. But I do think it's cool to remember where it comes from. And you know what? If you want to use this in your pictures or in your life and have it mean peace, that's cool too. And if you want to tell other people, hey, this means peace, I'm into peace, I think that's cool. But I should tell you, don't do it like this, because this is a very nasty gesture in certain parts of the world. And in fact, I probably shouldn't be doing it right now on the internet. Do it like this, with your hand facing out. All right, now, so let us sing, Let Us Open Our Eyes.
Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to seek what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another, and may we walk in peace. Our reading this morning is from the poet Claudia Rankine. It's called, I Don't Usually Talk to Strangers. I don't usually talk to strangers, but it is 4 o'clock and I can't get a cab. I need a cab because I have packages, but it's 4 o'clock and all the cabs are off duty. They're making a shift change. At the bus stop, I say, it's hard to get a cab now. The woman standing next to me glances over without turning her head. She faces the street where cab after cab drives by with its lights off. She says, as if to anyone, it's hard to live now. I don't respond. Hers is an Operation Iraqi Freedom answer. The war is on, and the Department of Homeland Security has decided we have an elevated national threat level, a code orange alert. I could say something, but my packages are getting heavier by the minute, and besides, what is there to say, since rhetorically, it's not about our oil under their sand, but about freeing Iraqis from Iraqis, and Osama is Saddam, and Saddam is that man who tried to kill my father. and the weapons of mass destruction are, well, invisible. And Afghanistan is Iraq, and Iraq is Syria, and we see ourselves only through our own eyes and the British, but not the French and Germany and Turkey won't. Germany and Turkey won't join us, but the coalition is inside Baghdad, where the future is the threat the Americans feel they can escape, though there is no escaping the Americans because this war is about peace. The war in Iraq is really about peace, trying to make the world more peaceful. This victory in Iraq, when it happens, will make the world more peaceful.
Thank you, Beth, for that reading by Claudia Rankin. I did not want to preach on Memorial Day. I felt like I didn't know enough about war or the military to say anything profound about a day to honor fallen soldiers. I don't have any fallen soldiers in my immediate family. I honor the memory of those who have died in battle, in service, as they call it. Some were drafted against their will, some signed up as a way out of poverty. Some signed up because they believed in the cause. Some had to fight a racist or sexist or queer-phobic system just to enlist and stay enlisted. There is no universal soldier. But regardless of how they got there, I honor them from the depths of my heart. But war, it's complicated. So I looked up the history of Memorial Day. No one really knows where it officially started. And of course, America didn't invent memorializing fallen soldiers. People have been doing that since soldiers have been falling. David did it in the Bible. Oh, how the mighty have fallen, he said. But it's generally agreed that Memorial Day in the US started after the Civil War. And then after it became a thing, both the North and the South claimed to be its originator. There's no consensus on who was right or if it spontaneously arose in multiple places at the same time. And of course, we should memorialize those who fought for the North, who fought against slavery. And yes, of course, those who loved those who fought for slavery wanted to memorialize them too, so that feels weird. But remember, the good guys won. It may not have made the world more peaceful exactly, but the Civil War did make the United States more just. And we love to remember when the good guys win. When I was growing up, when we talked about Memorial Day, we were usually talking about World War II. There, no question, good guys won. The Nazis, of course, were the ultimate embodiment of evil. And we, the Americans, were the good guys, even better. We still love to talk about World War II. There are still movies made about the storming of Normandy and the white soldiers going in to the beach to fight the bad guys. And I think that's good, mostly. It's important to remember the horrors of the Holocaust so we don't let it happen again, just as it's important to remember the horrors of American slavery so we can move towards reparations. And I do have a familial connection to World War II. I never met my World War II soldier grandfather, not because he was killed in service, but because he was killed by cancer decades later. But funnily enough, we're the same size. I know this because I inherited his army shirts, real military shirts from World War II. I got one right here. Still in pretty good shape. And since I was 15, they have fit me perfectly. I wore them to school all the time as a teenager. It wasn't a statement, really. I just thought they looked cool. After all, no one else had army shirts from the 1940s. Plus, it connected me to a relative I'd never met. I grew out of that phase in a few years, but I held on to the shirts. And then in 2017, I pulled them out again. You see, there had been a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. And this was after more than a year of white supremacist extremists gaining momentum in the United States. I felt powerless. So I put on these shirts, which were over 70 years old at that point, and I put them back in rotation. I'd wear them to show I was anti-Nazi, I guess. I'd tell people this shirt fought actual Nazis while we were getting drinks at Starbucks. That would show the Nazis. But one day, after I'd posted a pic of me on Instagram in one of the shirts, I got an unexpected response. A friend of mine of Japanese descent said, "You know, when I see you parade around in that shirt, I see Hiroshima and Nagasaki." Ironically, I had just been to Hiroshima as a tourist. I felt it vibrate with unimaginable pain. But somehow I never made the connection between those shirts and the bomb. I should have. When I was a kid, I was told that if it weren't for the atomic bomb being dropped on Japan, I would not exist. You see, my grandfather, the one who owned these shirts, would have been on the front lines on the Japanese version of D-Day. He surely would have been killed, my parents told me. And so, by Back to the Future logic, he would not have had my father, who would not have had me. According to this victory story, I owed my very being to the horrific killing of hundreds of thousands of people, including civilians and children. What a messed up thing to tell a kid. And what time travel hoops do victors jump through to justify the horrible acts of war? Even if what they said is true, and I would not be here if not for the atomic bomb, how can you ask me to evaluate whether my life is worth more than the life of a young mother on an August morning in 1945, or a child on their way to school? Now, I don't mean to suggest that Japan was not doing terrible imperialist things during World War II. Just talk to a Korean person for another side to that story. And the victory over the Axis did make the world more just and more peaceful in some ways. But the people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki did not deserve what we did to them. I don't wear the shirts anymore. And my relationship with my friends may never be repaired. And we must also remember there have been so many American wars since World War II. There was Korea, there was Vietnam, there was Iraq. The Twin Towers fell my second week in college, and now the United States has been at war with Afghanistan for most of my life. And they sandwiched another war with Iraq in there too. They say they're leaving Afghanistan on the 20-year mark to the day, and they're leaving behind a mess that they created that I do not understand. And of course, the US is involved in other wars too. I still don't know what to say about Palestine and Israel. It's fraught to even try. But I will say how I feel. I am both sick over the asymmetric colonialist violence for the people who have been displaced and killed for 80 years, and my heart hurts for the people of a country born out of the unfathomable wound of anti-Semitism and genocide. I'm still waiting for the world to be more peaceful. Everything is the doing of loneliness. And all I can think is remember. Remember the stories of the fallen soldiers. Remember the stories not just of the winning side or the side in power. Remember what got us to the points of war. And remember the atrocities that we must never let happen again, both that we stopped, that we committed, and that we enabled. This is the oath I take on this Memorial Day. I vow to remember it all, and to try to help others remember too. And maybe we will no longer be ruled by loneliness, and we can move toward a true peace. Amen. You'll see a question come up on your screen. What kind of mixed feelings do you have about Memorial Day and wars? Please type a short answer into the chat, and I'll read some of them out loud. Great answers coming in. I detest all wars. We need to remember those who gave their lives. Value our freedom, but abhor war as a solution for maintaining it. My parents fought the good war. There hasn't been a good war in my lifetime. Immense hopeless sadness. War is the worst part of human tribal nature. Useless are wars. War equals obsolete institution. It pains me that wars occur over and over, and that lessons are not learned, despite unimaginable pain and sacrifice. Proud for my father's role in World War II in Italy, but sad for the deaths of those drafted in the Vietnam War. It's impossible to fathom why we kill each other in whatever way. Thank you, everyone. There are a lot of good responses. You can read through them on your own. I invite you now to listen to Crossing the Bar.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving sea that reached you from out the boundless deep, turns again home, turns again home, turns again home. When that reached you from out the boundless deep, turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. When I embark. When I embark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from the bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar.
So lovely to hear the choir singing, and how we miss seeing you standing up front and singing to us. Thank you for that. We come to a time in our service, a time of prayer and meditation, a time when we slow down and listen to our breath, go a little more inward, and think of those that we love. In just a moment, you'll have an opportunity to say the names of those who are on your mind, someone who is experiencing a deep sorrow or a great joy, and I invite you to say their names or put them into the chat as you would like. As far as our parish concerns go this morning, we are thinking of Kristen, and we're thinking of Hannah and Ashley and Ron this morning, and holding them in our hearts. Please call out the names that you are thinking of or put them into the chat. And let us sing together, Spirit of Life. Will you please pray with me? Spirit of Life, this Memorial Day weekend, We remember those who have died in war. We remember the brave ones who sought to defend our country. We remember the scared ones who followed orders and prayed. We remember the reluctant ones and the eager ones, the foolish ones and the wise ones. War is complicated. We make war out to be noble and just. We make war out to be honorable and necessary. We make war out to be right against wrong. And so often, it is we who are wrong. War is hell, and hell punishes all within it. For the dead we pray this morning, and we also pray for the living, those who have returned from war to tell of its terrible beauty. For no one who has ever seen combat will be the same. The traumas of war live on in people, in places, and in nations. The traumas of war haunt us even now. For Israel and Palestine, for Yemen, for Malaysia, for Belarus, for Hong Kong, for Venezuela and Honduras, for even more places where war rages today, we pray. Forgive us. Forgive us for thinking war and its effects. Forgive us for thinking of war and its effects so infrequently. Forgive us our willful ignorance that lets us believe our way of life is not sustained by war. Forgive us when we blame a veteran for their problems without seeing their damage. Forgive us for allowing warmongers and opportunists to walk the halls of Congress and inhabit the boardrooms of large companies. For if we want peace, we will surely have to work for it. Remind us over and over again that this world does not belong to the wealthy and the powerful, it belongs to you. You who sees the least among us, you who cares for the lost and the damaged, you who desires for all of us a more peaceful and more just world. Remind us over and over again to not settle for war, to not give in to greed, to move beyond our own complacency, and to see the whole world as one. Let this Memorial Day be a day of remembrance of the dead and a recommitment to the living. May it be so. Amen. Let us hold a time of silence together.
We UUs have a proud history in the forefront of anti-slavery work. How would you like to become a modern-day abolitionist? Our May Share the Plate has been Concord Prison Outreach. The platform of UU Partner, the Movement for Black Lives, includes a call to abolish policing and prisons. Mere reform is not enough. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch constantly deplore our over-reliance on imprisonment. With only 5% of the Earth's population, the US accounts for nearly a quarter of the entire world's imprisoned. African Americans and Hispanics make up more than half of those in our prisons, despite being less than a third of our population. We have the most imprisoned women and the most imprisoned minors of any nation. Amnesty continues to call for a halt to what they see as politically motivated mass incarceration with its concurrent human rights abuses. They document rampant racism in our criminal justice system. So what's the alternative? The Movement for Black Lives urges us to be visionary and future-oriented. It states, quote, "We know the safest communities in America are places that don't center the police. What we're looking for already exists, and we already know it works. We need look no further than neighborhoods where the wealthy, well-connected, and well-off live, or anywhere there is easy access to living wages, healthcare, quality public education, and freedom from police terror," end quote. In other words, well-served neighborhoods, not policing, make for healthy community outcomes. Rich folks suffer from alcoholism and the opioid pandemic, from schizophrenia and mental illnesses, from learning and other disabilities. Rich folks suffer from domestic violence, aggressive and negligent car accidents, and youthful, foolish behavior. But residents of wealthier neighborhoods can access community assistance and afford private help and competent legal defense. How many of you learned about restorative justice at our April event, a visionary and humane alternative that Concord has offered our youth for decades so they can avoid an arrest record? Cities across the country are discussing defunding the police and offering everyone the helpful resources that a place like Concord has. In sum, our faith calls upon us to work for a loving, caring world where no child is born at high risk of incarceration. Members of our congregation are knowledgeable and involved in this mission. As we move now into our offertory, let us be generous to our Share the Plate Concord Prison Outreach, and also pledge to work to abolish the poverty to prison pipeline. Our collection will be split 50-50 between CPO and First Parish. In a moment, you will see a number appear on your screen to allow you to text your donation. Just text a whole number, a 20 or a 50 or 100. The first time, you will need your credit card handy. You can also donate through our website or postal mail a check to the church building. Your donations are now gratefully received.
Our church newsletter should be showing up in your email every Friday. If you have subscribed and you don't see it, go ahead and check your spam folder or your other messages folder. That newsletter and our Facebook pages are full of church and UU activities and events. First Parish in Concord's building remains closed to in-person activity at this time, but we are beginning to imagine how to reopen. As part of the reopening process, we are scheduling community conversations in June. We hope to connect with as many members and friends of First Parish as possible. Please find the schedule for those conversations and Zoom links in First Parish Weekly, and be sure to participate. Don't forget to send Sarah Burns a photo of yourself with a flower by June 13th for our flower communion service on the 20th. And please note that our church's annual meeting is right after that 20th service. All church groups need to submit their annual reports to Sarah Burns by June 2nd. And now Jeff Brainerd from the Standing Committee is going to tell you about coffee hour.
Good morning, happy Memorial Day and peace to everyone. We'll be doing the Zoom coffee hour, right after the service. Please join me and hope to see you there. And thank you very much.
So the Zoom coffee hour, although on a holiday weekend, maybe it is a Zoom happy hour, I don't know, is going to meet directly after the service. There'll be a link in the chat. And there's also going to be a worship sharing circle, which is a separate meeting, same time. There will also be a link in the chat for that. The difference is coffee hour is more just social, and the worship sharing circle is a place to discuss what we talk about in the service in more depth. So you can decide if you want to go to one of those. So now please sing with us our closing song, This Is My Song. This Memorial Day, may we vow to remember those who have fallen in battle, and may we vow to remember the stories of war, all of them in all of their complexity, so that we may move toward a future that is not ruled by loneliness. Please join me in the first Parish Benediction. Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings.